Could artificial intelligence ever become curious? What even is curiosity? The traditional model suggests that we're mere prediction machines, constantly refining our models of reality. But the truth, as we will see in this episode, is far more wonderful and complex. In our quest to understand the nature of the mind itself, we find ourselves at a remarkable threshold. Welcome to Deep Thoughts, where we examine the fundamental patterns of how humans think, learn, and perceive. Our computational tools have begun to mirror aspects of our own cognition, yet creating true artificial general intelligence requires understanding the deeper principles that guide human thought. I'm Evan Goldstein, a licensed engineer and data scientist, and I invite you to join me on this journey into the very essence of what makes us think. In this episode, we'll try to unravel one of the fundamental aspects of human intelligence that machines just lack: curiosity. It is, in many ways, the force that has carried our species from the first tentative questions about fire to the profound investigations of consciousness itself. Yet, for all of our capacity to wonder, for all of our drive to understand, we have often misunderstood the very nature of curiosity itself. The conventional wisdom in our cognitive science and artificial intelligence research presents an elegant but incomplete picture. One that deserves closer examination through the lens of human experience and careful scientific inquiry. Curiosity is a wonderfully universal human trait that nearly everyone possesses in some form. While we all share this innate drive in ourselves, the reasons behind it and how it shows up in our daily lives can be a bit of a mystery. Currently, the go-to theory in both cognitive science and artificial intelligence research springs from rational choice theory. This idea is not only widely accepted, but it's also quite intuitively satisfying. Here's how it unfolds. Getting to know the world around us helps us make better predictions. We often look for predictability because it makes it easier to plan what we're going to do next to get the things that we want. When your predictions don't quite match up, like when unexpected experiences catch you by surprise, that's when curiosity steps in to help bridge those gaps in what you know. And the outcome is a steadily expanding collection of evidence-based ideas that help us to achieve more complex goals. This model of curiosity is so commonly accepted that it feels like sharing quotes to back it up would be overkill. Now, this idea has been the main theory that researchers have used since Jean Piaget studied it in the 1920s. Piaget was a famous Swiss scientist who focused on understanding how children learn and develop mentally. He established our modern understanding of how people, especially children, learn about and understand the world around them. The idea being referenced here is that humans seek information to make better predictions about their world, and curiosity helps them fill in the gaps in their knowledge. The basic concept has remained a cornerstone of how scientists think about human reasoning and curiosity for nearly a century, since Piaget first proposed his theories about how we learn and develop. Now, this model forms the foundation for several complex brain and learning theories: the free energy principle, predictive coding, and model-based reinforcement specifically. Each of these fancy-sounding terms describes a different aspect of how our brains try to make sense of the world while using as little mental energy as possible. Think of your brain being a very efficient prediction machine that's always trying to get better at guessing what will happen next. It's fascinating how it reflects the journey of scientific discovery as it's woven into our core mental processes. It's serving as a fundamental and intrinsic motivation, tweaking the parts of a model-based agent. To make them match up better with real life is pretty much always a smart move. When an explorer dives into new experiences, they're not just picking up information about a single task or a single setting. They're connecting the dots with their past adventures, which helps them build skills that are useful in many different situations. And if you feel that you're getting value from this episode, I would appreciate it if you would press the like button. Pressing like lets me know that I'm making content that you want to see and helps spread that to others. Together, we can break AI capitalists out of small channel hell. The novelty of an image highlights how much it differs from our expectations based on past experiences. In other words, curiosity is our natural urge to find or create more interesting and surprising information that isn't random or arbitrary. This new information is exciting because it helps us learn even more about things that we didn't know before. It's interesting to note that you wouldn't often find research supporting a different perspective on this. Studies exploring our attraction to novelty usually operate under the assumption that the researchers understand what counts as novelty, like a fun new toy or a unique piece of art. In practical applications, such as novelty-driven reinforcement learning, there's typically an algorithm at play that measures the novelty factor of various actions or experiences to guide the agent on what to explore next. The typical take on this might sound good at first glance, but it's pretty unlikely to hold up as it faces some huge hurdles, as we'll see in a minute. Now, this creates an interesting conundrum known as the noisy TV problem in the world of AI. The heart of the matter is that the true novelty in our sensory experiences can be difficult to recognize. It's a bit like random noise that we just can't make sense of existing far beyond our ability to even ask questions about it. You know, it's kind of like trying to understand a sign in a foreign language that you just don't speak. Curiosity tends to focus on things that we already know. In order to learn from an experience, we need to fit what our curiosity uncovers into a framework that we're familiar with. It's not just a random reaction to something new. Instead, it's a purposeful act of asking questions and absorbing the answers. There's something aimed and specific that triggers our curiosity, that sets it apart from the usual hum of everyday life. There's this underlying urge to uncover something about the world around us. Take watching a mystery movie, for example. The suspense builds not just from wanting to know what happens next. After all, that can apply to any movie that you haven't seen. It's really about the desire to find the answer to a particular question. And the feeling of not having that specific answer can be very unsettling. That unsatisfied curiosity, like not knowing how the movie ends, can be really frustrating. This shows that curiosity has a dual nature, driving us to inquire until we uncover what it is that we're seeking. As we've talked about in previous episodes, life is full of surprises, and we tend to pay more attention when things don't go as we expect. It's not just novelty that catches our interest. It's the kind of novelty that makes us feel a bit uneasy. This could be something that shakes our sense of safety or suggests that there might be issues that we need to deal with. That's where your curiosity really kicks in. When something grabs your attention, it's often linked to what you'd prefer to avoid. The unknown can feel unsettling, especially when there's a gap in your understanding. It's not about predicting what will happen, rather what you hope will remain constant. For instance, a thrilling murder mystery captivates us because we have emotional stakes in uncovering the truth. We want to know who the culprit is. On the other hand, take something like dividing 9,827 by 7. While it's a puzzling math problem, it has a definitive answer, it doesn't spark as much interest because there's no personal reason to even care about it. To truly engage our minds, we need to connect with something that connects with us. We might think there's a killer on the loose. How would that impact my life? And I think that kind of shows how our interest is really grabbed. Now, the way that toddlers are fascinated by construction vehicles like diggers and cranes and trucks is not a coincidence. At their stage of development, they're beginning to explore their ability to interact with the world around them. And construction vehicles represent everything that they dream of doing: lifting heavy items, shoveling dirt, and moving things from one place to another. For toddlers, these vehicles embody a power fantasy, much like superheroes in their imaginations as they grow up. When it comes to adults, Curiosity often gravitates toward concrete facts that we can easily share with others, stemming from our intrinsic social motivations. One of the main features that we casually call curiosity is that it actually revolves around topics with social significance. Think of questions like who the second Queen of England was, or the difference between a law and a tort. While this focus on facts is common, we don't have to stick to it. We often feel the pressure to appear knowledgeable, and suddenly not knowing an answer to a trivia question can make us worry about how others perceive us, about our social standing. That's especially true when people are looking for your insights. This need for knowledge can be especially strong within your declared field of expertise or what you feel is your specialty. To an outsider, or even to yourself, this eager quest for answers might simply look like curiosity, but there's often much more to it beneath the surface. In various real-world situations, like in engineering, not quite figuring out how to tackle a technical challenge can lead others to see us as being less skilled, especially if it's an issue that colleagues have already managed to solve. This motivates us to look into their solutions, which might seem like curiosity at work. While boredom, which is the opposite of novelty and interest, might appear to also fuel curiosity, a closer look shows that the two aren't exactly related. For one thing, boredom can be a tricky concept to nail down. The same experience of having a little variety in your surroundings while being inactive can often be described as comfort or ease. Picture yourself relaxing on a beach. Boredom surfaces when there's a limit on what you can do and you'd rather be busy with something else. When you're bored, you flip through options on TV, searching for something that piques your interest. Even if it's not obvious, there's a part of you that longs to engage in a more fulfilling activity. Sometimes you might even feel a bit unsure about what you really want. Regardless, there's a sense of restriction hovering over you. There are also other behaviors that might look like curiosity on the surface, but are actually more about gaining proficiency rather than explicit knowledge. For instance, when a child plays with blocks, it may seem like they're trying to figure out the laws of physics, but they're actually more interested in having control and shaping the blocks the way that they want them to go. This kind of exploration resembles honing skills in a sport rather than curiosity itself. You could say that control and curiosity exist on a spectrum, where curiosity is a specific kind of control. Curiosity is that drive to learn something useful. To fill in those uncomfortable gaps in what we don't know, it highlights situations where not knowing something feels like a problem. Now, standard theories of curiosity often promote a model of pure curiosity, suggesting that it's driven just by sensory novelty. But let's be real, that's more of an ideal than reality. It paints a picture of humans as these objective, scientifically curious explorers, totally free from social motives. The idea is that only unbiased curiosity can lead to unbiased truths. Admitting that our curiosity often has hidden personal motives, shaping what we discover, really challenges that idealized view of ourselves. So many rational thinkers who find comfort in this fantasy dismiss that idea. It's like believing that your perception of reality genuinely reflects reality itself, which conveniently overlooks the subjective layers in all of our experiences. While it might be a bit uncomfortable, stepping back from our ego can really help us to explore the true essence of curiosity and untangle all of its quirky contradictions. For instance, viewing curiosity as a form of control allows us to better balance our eagerness to learn with the need to exercise caution, and especially in risky situations. After all, we've all heard the saying, curiosity killed the cat. And that's certainly true. Getting distracted by every shiny new object can lead us into trouble. When curiosity is driven by specific motivations, like seeking out knowledge that feels essential, It's similar to making thoughtful choices to steer our lives toward our goals. You only dive into exploration when you feel that it's needed, weighing the risks against the rewards along the way. This means that curiosity and caution can actually go hand in hand. Sometimes not being curious could be the real risk. Now, on the flip side, curiosity without direction can lead us in circles. To realize that there's something we don't know, we first need to have a grasp of the subject itself. We must recognize our knowledge gaps and then figure out what might fill them. And with so many things to be curious about, our interests often stem from personal motivations that guide our focus. So, where does that leave us in the quest for true novelty? Based on our earlier conversation, it seems that what we find during our explorations tends to fit with our existing worldview. With our interest in a certain movie, for example, that often reflects not just a craving for something new, but a quest for validation of our current perspective. This suggests that we might end up with a limited view of the world, which doesn't leave much room for genuine personal growth. Following our curiosity might just reinforce what we already believe or what we want to see. And that feels a bit off. But here's where it gets exciting, because true novelty has a magical way of surprising us. It shows up out of the blue without any invitation from us. This kind of curiosity doesn't just follow a script, it shakes up our understanding and it alters our perceptions. These moments of unexpected insight often come during times of deep challenge, and they even lead to profound revelations. They have the potential to reshape our values and our aspirations moving forward. In contrast, everyday curiosity tends to highlight how far our thoughts stretch, often keeping us within familiar boundaries. Even if we can't predict what we'll discover, the answers usually fall within the limits of what we already know and already believe. True novelty, however, rushes in from a place that we didn't see coming, catching us by surprise and broadening our horizons in ways that we never could have even imagined. In this extraordinary insight about human nature, we find that curiosity and risk-taking operate as distinct forces in the magnificent machinery of the mind. And there is profound wisdom in this separation. We can only calculate risks and rewards within the framework of what we already understand, within the boundaries of our current knowledge. Consider, if you will, the remarkable investigators of the 16th century, those brave seekers of truth who could not have conceived of the revolutionary transformations that their quests would unleash upon human understanding.
This relationship between curiosity and discovery mirrors our greatest challenge in artificial intelligence development. Current AI systems excel at pattern matching within known domains, but they struggle with true novelty, the kind that reshapes understanding itself. To achieve artificial general intelligence, we must embrace this paradox. Systems need both bounded rationality and unbounded curiosity. Just as human curiosity led to paradigm-shifting discoveries in quantum mechanics and relativity, artificial general intelligence requires the capacity to question its own foundational assumptions and to venture beyond its training. The risk isn't in creating curious machines, but in creating machines that lack the ability to be genuinely surprised. Without authentic curiosity, AI systems become sophisticated mirrors, reflecting and refining what we already know, rather than helping us discover what we don't know, and what we don't know we don't know. True AGI must have the capacity to experience wonder, to follow unexpected paths, and to fundamentally transform its own understanding of reality, much like the human curiosity that has driven our greatest discoveries.
The most meaningful breakthroughs in human knowledge rarely arrive with predictable rewards that can be measured in gold, or territory, or influence. Instead, they fundamentally transform our understanding, completely rewriting the very equations by which we calculate value and risk. True discovery, that comes from a magnificent surprise emerging from the unexpected quarters of human experience, carrying with it the power to fundamentally reshape our understanding of reality itself. This is the true gift of curiosity. not merely to confirm what we know, but to transform who we are.